Hey folks, Ed Szewski here with a quick video about how Facebook and social media in general are manipulating us, how they're dividing us, and then some of our responses we can take. So I don't know if you've seen the BuzzFeed article about a former Facebook employee, Sophie Zhang, and she reported in a 6,600 word memo about the ways that foreign governments and just different actors throughout the world are posting fake news, fake updates on social media and on Facebook in particular, and how they're manipulating their people. And there's a lot of other news out there along those same lines. Ethiopia is fearful of genocide because of manipulation that's taking place on Facebook right now. So Florida is getting flooded with all kinds of conspiracy theories, and there's all kinds of conspiracy theories up in the Northwest with the fires, saying that there's Antifa involved in these fires. So we're living in a time where there's a lot of information just being like thrown out at us, and some of it's helpful and some of it's not. And so we have to be aware of how people are using social media, how we're consuming it, how it's being presented to us, what's out there, and how to kind of sort through it, and how do we respond to other people, and how is it affecting us. So first of all, social media is being manipulated by these bots, by fake accounts, by bad actors. There are fake stories being promoted out there, and then algorithms kind of reinforce people's confirmation biases, right? So then it doesn't really matter if it's true, because people are just responding to it, then it gets amplified. And so the more engagement it gets seen by more people, and more people react to it, more people respond to it. So that's one of the first things, is just to be aware of, when you see these things, to be aware of how you respond, how you react. That you want to be careful not to share it, not to respond right away. And you want to compare some sources. A good rule is to wait a day even just before you respond to something or share something. Like, do a little more digging to find out what's behind that story, and whether maybe it's a site that's kind of spinning the news, or whether it's not telling the full story. There might be another perspective to consider. And another thing is that we tend to react in the moment, right? And that's how social media works. It's made to work that way. So it's just to undermine that, and to that intention to move away from that goal, and to respond more from a place of being centered and aware. So we know that social media is dividing us. There's just tons of people who are seeing the divisions in their families, and in among siblings, among parents. It's happening. It's all over the place. If I had my choice right now, I would have never signed up for Facebook back when I started out in book publishing, just because I've seen how divisive and toxic it's been. And so, what do we do? So, one of the things is that we can, first of all, care for our own souls, just to, be aware of how we're responding to social media, and how we're responding to the negative things we're seeing all the time. This is all, taking place around the big issues of our day. There's climate change, there's the coronavirus response, and we have to be aware that there's this whole alternate ecosystem of information that's generally like this right-wing, Fox News, Breitbart, they're promoting stuff, Daily Caller, they're promoting stuff that generally is spinning or misrepresenting facts. And so we have to be aware of that. That's just kind of the reality right now. And we have to, care for our own soul. And then as we respond to these stories that are coming out there, we need to see people as individuals, and not view them as kind of this like mass, this right-wing mass of people, but to respond to people as individuals, as our neighbors, as our friends, their family, to think in those terms, and not to respond in a like collective mindset. I think that and then we have to just try to imagine what they're seeing. Like, what are they actually afraid of? And so, like, if you're just being bombarded every night with riots in the streets, I got mail from Mitch McConnell saying that his opponent, Amy McGrath, is, she's a former Marine fighter pilot. She supports the Antifa mobs, sweeping through our cities. And there are all these pictures of like rioting and looting and things like that. And it's like, of course she does it. It's ridiculous. And so, but if you were someone who has been bombarded with those stories every night and kind of replayed footage, and it's, some of these websites are pulling in images from other countries. Like there was an image of police officers in New Zealand being attacked, being promoted as a real legit news story, right? So, we have to remember how people are responding to that and what they're seeing, and how would you respond if you thought that was true? And so, yes, there is deception. Yes, there is a lot of like lying and things like that. But we have to stay aware of the fact that these are individuals. They're responding to things that they believe to be true. And so, those are a few things to keep in mind as we face all the division, all the difficulties of this election season right now, to respond to people with compassion and awareness, to care for our own souls, and then to treat them as individuals who are loved by God, to love them, to be kind to them, but to remember that they're also, in effect, being either victims or being tormented to a certain degree by the social media and the news they're consuming. So Ed Cyzewski, author of Reconnect, Spiritual Restoration from Digital Distraction, and thanks for dropping by today.